Is this thing on? Is my hair okay? Good morning. I feel like every video I do is a cold start, but to be honest with you, it's pretty addicting to do cold starts in this car, and I guess I like to share them with you. I listen to my videos and the sound of the cold start is nowhere even, it's not even close to what it sounds like in real life, so I apologize. I think it still sounds cool on the video, but it's like, yeah, it's just not even close. That's all I can say, not even close. So if you ever get a chance to just go over to a Porsche dealership or know someone that has a GT3 or a GT3 RS, just so you can hear a cold start, I mean, you go to a dealership and beg them to turn it on for you. Show up with a pipe in your hand and like a smoker's jacket, and maybe they'll let you turn it on. So anyway, here we go. It does not get old. It does not get old. So this is a quick little intro before I do my thing where it says A Porsche, and you hear, I think it's a Lamborghini Aventador revving. This is my little tidbit thing, but today I'm going to talk about some hot news. I've never done a hot news video before, and today is a big hot news day. I've never seen kind of this much hot news in one day, so I figured, you know, I did 3 videos yesterday because I'm crazy. I just had the itch to do them, I guess. And today I'll just throw in a hot news one. We're going to talk about the Mustang GT500 supercharged V8 700 plus horsepower. We're going to talk about the Toyota Supra A90, they're calling it, Mark 5, I believe. Anyway, the new Toyota Supra. Both were officially released today. We picked the camouflage off of everything, all that stuff, so stay tuned. Alright, so let's actually talk about the Supra first, because I feel like it hits a little bit closer to home. I was definitely one of the people that had been watching all of the release information about the new Supra as, you know, new prototypes and things were getting released and shown to the public, and I think one of the big concepts was called the FT1, correct me if I'm wrong, and that came out. They started releasing some leaks and things like that of that car maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, damn, that car looks good. I really liked it. Maybe we can cut here to me on my computer showing the pictures of the car and stuff like that, or I'll just throw them on here. Anyway, so I did like how it looked, and then they started releasing the pictures of this finalized Supra probably, I don't know, 6 months to a year ago. People still didn't really know if it was a finalized version, but it is. It's what we're seeing now as the finalized version. So I like the back. I like how the back looks, and I don't like the nose. And when I say the nose, like not just the whole front of the car, but it has like a nose, like it has a pointy little thing in the middle, like a flying V, right in the middle, a little stub nose, and I think it looks terrible, that part. I think the car overall looks pretty good. It does really look a lot like a Z4, which makes sense because it's built, you know, built that way by BMW and Guzzi Racing and whatever collaboration. I'm just waiting for my motor to warm up, by the way, so I'm just sitting here. So yeah, it still looks good. I want to say right off the bat, like one of the first things, so I think it looks good, and I like the price. I thought it was going to be $60,000 to $70,000, and it was released at $50,000 for the inline-6 turbo, and then there's a premium version. I think they said it was $54,000, and then there's a launch edition, which is $56,000 or something, where you get red interior. So I think the price is actually not so bad for what it is, which makes sense because it's Toyota. Toyota has to be very careful with their brand because they're known for being a very, you know, reliable and affordable car. So even when they make a sports car, they do have to think about those things, what they're known for, and stick to the roots, right? So I was happy about the pricing, and you know, think that maybe there could be deals on these cars eventually where you're getting them for more like 45 or maybe even closer to 40. That's pretty exciting, I think. But the thing to me that I also, that all this stuff sounds great, but the thing to me that is a little bit odd is I feel like it's just a 335i, you know? Like 335i from 2007. The 335i came out in 2007, coupe and sedan, and I don't know if the convertible came out the same year, but it was the same car basically. And it was a inline six twin turbo at the time, the N54 motor with 2 turbos, 300 horsepower, 300 torque. It evolved as time went by into the N55, which had a single turbo, a twin scroll single turbo. Was supposed to be a little bit more reliable, still supposedly made the same power, but anyone that drove both cars would tell you that the N54 with the twin turbo is a stronger motor with more power, and also it was easier to modify to more power. That's for sure. So maybe I should say easier to modify for less money. Yeah, you know what? Just so everyone knows, I'm interrupting my train of thought here. I'm like that guy that does everything you're not supposed to do. It's raining outside. I said, screw it. I'm driving my GT3 RS in the rain with not great. These tires are not good for rain. The car's not made for rain. Most people would say you shouldn't drive a car that's expensive. Like, keep it clean, all that stuff. It was already dirty. I haven't washed it since I did my huge trip down from Northern Cal. I put a car seat in my car. You know, I taped the front bumper up with painter's tape. Some people are probably mad about stuff like that, but deal with it. It's my car. So anyway, back to the Supra. It's not that exciting. So I had a 2007 335i and I had a 2011, I believe it was, 135i. So I had both motors and I owned both of those cars for about 3 years each. I liked the 335i. I actually had the sedan, and I did not like my 135i. I won't get into that, but I have to figure out how to use my windshield wipers, guys. Okay, so they were both good cars, and I felt like the performance for the price was good. And the funny thing was that when I bought them, what really drove me to them was the inline 6 twin turbo or twin scroll turbo, because it reminded me of a Supra. So that is kind of funny, you know, thinking about that now. But that was over 10 years ago, guys, for that motor. So I feel like the Supra is just going off of what BMW kind of copied Toyota. And then Toyota said, hey, you copied us, but you did it better, and we want you to help with our next car. I think they should have just done it themselves. That's just how I feel about it. You know, I feel like Toyota was able to make the Mark IV one of the best cars ever. And I mean, look what they're selling for now. Everyone keeps saying they're going for 100 grand, but that was, you know, like maybe one car or whatever. They're not really going for 100 grand. A few of them are. But that's such a good car. They should have built it in-house. I mean, they also did the collaboration with the BRZ with Subaru, and I think that actually came out pretty well. And I'm not saying this is bad. I just was, I don't know, maybe everyone wants to complain about something and I'm just complaining. But I still think it's a good car. I probably won't buy one for one reason: the transmission. That kind of car, to me, is not the car you need an automatic dual clutch transmission car in. That is a stick car. That is a rear wheel drive. I mean, this would be a great car in stick if it was available, but this is also, can we set the best lap on the Nürburgring? That's what this car was, and it's what, top 3 or something like that, maybe 4. It's crazy how fast this is on the track. So this is a dedicated, I mean, it's a $200,000 track car, and the Supra is a $50,000. You could say it's a track car too, but it's a sports car, and it really should be available with the manual transmission, and BMW builds manual transmission. So where's the manual? Hashtag save the manuals, right? So that frustrates me the most. If it was available in a manual, I think I could say something to myself in my mind like, you know what? maybe a year or two from now, I'll get rid of my Z4M Coupe. I'll sell it, and I'll take that money on my Z4M Coupe. I'll put it down as a down payment on a Supra, and maybe they will come out with a manual later. I doubt they will. I've never heard of a car coming out automatic only and the manufacturer changing their minds, but it is a little bit reminiscent of the GTR when it was first released, and people getting mad about that not having a manual transmission. But see, here's the difference. The GTR is 480 horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. This Supra is 335 horsepower and does 0 to 60 in like 4.1. 4.1 to 2.9 is insanely different, okay? Like, it's just so, getting a car to go that much, it doesn't sound like a big number difference, but it's insanely different. From your butt in the seat and from making the car do that, it's a lot more work. And we're talking about all-wheel drive, all the traction, like all this stuff on a GTR versus the Supra. And you know, the Supra is also going to be, now that the GTRs are 100 grand, we're talking about a car that's half the price. So anyway, it just bugs me, and I see why they did it on the NSX, because the NSX is also like a $150,000 supercar, and that's kind of sorry, this is something I should say. The GTR is a supercar, it really is, and the NSX is a supercar, and the Supra is not a supercar, but it is only available with the supercar transmission. So I don't know. I don't know if any of these points are making sense to you guys, but I would love to have seen the Supra with the less pointy nose, which you can change, with the manual transmission, which maybe you can change, but that would be a lot of work and a lot of money, and with more power. All right, I'm just inserting a little bit of information here to talk about comparisons with the new Supra. So I was thinking some more about this. I filmed everything you've been seeing. I filmed yesterday, which was Monday, the 14th of January. Today is now the 15th. I didn't put the video up yesterday because I just didn't have time to finish it. And I wanted to add a little bit more information because I've been thinking about it a lot more. And I watch more videos on YouTube from other people that I respect. And so anyway, let's look at some comparisons and talk about just some other little things with the Supra. And I just left off on that. The last thing you heard was I mentioned that I don't like the pointy nose, I don't like the transmission, and I think the price is like okay. It's just okay. But at first, at the beginning of the video, I said I liked it a lot because it was better than I expected. But I still am not sure if I'm totally convinced. I think it's okay. I think the price is just okay. Anyway, so here's something I want to show you though. So earlier in that video, I also said the thing that frustrated me is that it just seems like a 335i. But really, I think that maybe it really seems like a 235i, or what's now they call the 240i, because things, you know, first it was the 135i, then it was the 235i, and now it's the M240i. They just, BMW in their naming is ridiculous in my opinion. But that starts at 45 grand, which is $5,000. Well, actually it's more like 46. So it starts about $4,000 less than the Supra. And it's a little bit slower. It's 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds instead of 4.1 seconds. Now, this has the same motor as the B58, which is kind of like the evolution from the N55. They're both inline six with a twin scroll turbo. And something that's really cool about this car is that you can get this in manual transmission. So if you go to build this car, and so right here you see it starts at about 46 with not very many options. And I'm sure I don't have the time to go look at every option the Supra comes with and then say, oh, if we added all those options to the M240i, would it actually be more expensive than the Supra? Maybe that's the case, but they're probably around the same price. And I do think I would never buy this M240i because I own a 135i and I did not like it. I would definitely, it's too small. It's it's claustrophobic feeling inside for me. So I would definitely want to go with like the 440i now, which does get a little bit more expensive. But let's just go to the options page here. I just want to prove this to anyone that's doubting me. But BMW still does offer the manual transmission. Here it is right here. And it is I don't know why this happens, but when you click it, oh, it takes you this, right? So it talks about 6-speed manual transmission, delivers precise athletic feel, blah 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 blah. Let's just add the option. It's a no cost option, and that should be a no cost option on the Supra for the same reason I mentioned earlier. It is a sports car, and the things that people like to do with sports cars are not always exactly the same things that people want to do with a supercar. And a DCT to me is more of a supercar transmission. Um, so for some people, it's like, oh, this is great. I'm getting a supercar transmission on my sports car, and I do understand that people want that, and it does make sense to offer it. It's great that they're offering it, but they should also offer the manual transmission, and it should be cheaper for them to build, because if you look at BMW's lineup, you have to get into the M category to get a DC transmission, and the Supra is getting it for way less money. So when I said there are some reasons why the $50,000 starting price is actually not all that bad sounding, because you are getting a DC transmission, and I think I'm actually pretty sure this is going to be the cheapest car in the world that offers a DCT transmission, dual clutch. So that is kind of a cool thing. I'll take that. I think the second cheapest might actually be the M2. Let's just double check how much those start for. I want to say that they're like 58 grand or something like that. So we got an M2, yeah. So $59,000 for the M2 Coupe, which is a faster car than the Supra is. When I say faster, the numbers are higher, or whatever. So now the M240i, I think that if it had the dual clutch, it probably would be able to pull the same 4.1 0 to 60, but it's like a 4.4, and I think that Motor Trend tested at like 4.3, and both the M2 and the M240i, they both ran, I think it was like a 12 somewhere in this article. They both ran like high 12s. Yeah, here it is, 12.9 second quarter mile, which is decent, but not that great. And the Supra is probably gonna run something like that. It's probably gonna be about 12.9, 12.8, 13, somewhere in that ballpark. I mean, if it even gets 13.5, that'd be great too. But there's gonna be a lot of people there's gonna be a great modding community on the new Supra, so that is a positive. I mean, there's already so much modding going on in the BMW world that it's gonna be just so simple for them to just say, oh, day one, here's 100 horsepower and 100 torque extra. You'll be doing 0 to 60s probably more like 3.6 seconds and things like that, I would have to guess, and you'll probably be throwing down low 12. I said some of those quarter mile numbers wrong earlier. Sorry, I was saying 13.5. I meant 12.5. But hopefully you can get into the low 12s with with a tune. So spend $1,000, you get a low 12 quarter mile time. That's my guess, and that's my hope. And that, you know what, the Supra is not the best looking car, but I also really don't like how the M240 looks, or the M2. I think these are not, it's too stubby looking to me. I think the Supra is a better looking car. I would rather have a Supra. Now another thing I want to mention is that this is funny because I'm talking about the GT500 in this video as well, but I would arguably say that the Mustang GT is more of a Supra than the Supra, which is kind of weird. This is very strange to say, but if you look at the last Supra, which in my opinion, that's what a Supra is supposed to be, because that was the best Supra. So there's plenty of people that could say, oh, well, that was the fourth Supra, and look at the heritage and all this stuff. I kind of don't care. The Supra, the Mark IV, was the Supra. That's the heritage to me. I don't care about the other Supras that came before it. That was the Supra. So that Supra had 2 rear seats, which I know they probably weren't very usable, but they were there just like a GTR does, and so does a Mustang, right? 2 rear seats. It had a lot of power for the time. The Mustang GT has a lot of power for the time. It's 460 horsepower right now, stock Mustang. And I think that the interior on the Mustang actually, let's see if I can get a good shot of it. It might be kind of hard. Well, let's see if this will show us. It's not a very good picture. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time to get the interior, but I do think that the interior almost reminds me a little bit more of the Supra than the new interior. Not that it reminds me a lot of a Supra interior, but maybe more than the new BMW interior. So the new GT is, I mean, I'm not planning on buying one, and I don't think it looks great, and I don't think it looks bad, but it does 0 to 60 under 4 seconds, so it's quicker. than the new Supra, and it's already out. It's $10,000 less than the new Supra, and it does a quarter mile in the 11s. In the 11s. So when I said that if you throw a tune on the new Supra, you'll probably get low 12s. This is probably still faster even than a tuned Supra. So you have to probably start spending some major cash to get this level. I mean, you might have to get forged internals, upgrade the turbos. I mean, you might have to drop 20 grand to get just to the GT level. And if you're gonna drop 20 grand on the Supra, you might want to start looking at other cars, like VR. So that's just my thoughts on all of this stuff. And you know what? There's one other car that I want to bring up. I forgot to. I didn't plan this. I was not that I usually plan my videos out very well, but the 370Z, man, car's been out for what, 10 years now? I don't know. And it starts at 30 grand, so $20,000 less, right? It has the same horsepower as the Supra. It's a two-seater like the Supra. It is a little bit ugly like the Supra. I think it actually looks a little bit better than the Supra on the front, but I think the Supra's rear looks better. But you know what Nissan needs to do right now, like big time. This would just be the big move that they need to do. Just slap Toyota back for doing all this BS with teaming up with BMW and all this stuff. Nissan needs to just make a 370Z, whatever edition, call it, some special edition, whatever you want to call it. Throw a turbo on it. People have been twin turboing, single turboing, supercharging. Forced induction has been getting thrown onto Nissan 350Zs and 370Zs for what is it? Almost 20 years. I had a 350Z with a twin turbo kit way back in the day. Great car. Just throw a turbo on it. Not a big turbo, just throw a turbo onto this car and maybe make some suspension tweaks. Maybe throw a dual clutch transmission into it. That would be funny too, but put it at the GT price. Throw 10 grand extra on the price. Throw a forced induction on it. Maybe beef up faster transmission, whatever. But definitely offer the manual, and there you go. You just won. Beat the Supra. It's that simple. So there's the end of my rant about those few things, and then I just wanted to point out a couple other little things here. So I want to show you the rear of the Supra, which is my favorite part. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but I really think that they copied Ferrari. So if you follow this line here, how it curves around the taillight and leaves this little vent slat thing, look at the Ferrari. It's the 812 Superfast, just to be clear. It's very similar to me. I know the duckbill is not here on the Ferrari, but just that line that curves along the taillights, it just really reminds me. Yeah, actually, I mean, the diffuser actually is even similar, isn't it? If you think about it. So I'm just pointing that out. I don't know if they actually did copy them or if it's just a coincidence. Cockpit is something that really bothers me. And the reason why I say cockpit instead of interior or whatever is that everyone used to talk about the Supra as cockpit. It's like a fighter jet, because all of the instruments on the inside around the driver are wrapped facing you. It's a driver's car. Everything is around you, the driver. You look at all these instruments right here. And this is a right-hand drive Supra. It was just the best picture I found looking real quickly. So it's the same thing. You just flip-flop it if you're left-hand drive. But all these gauges and stuff over here are facing you as the driver. They're angled. It's actually angled. It's the only, I don't know if it's the only car that's like that, but it's the only car I've ever seen I can think of right now where everything is facing you. And if you look at the new Supra, I think it's a great looking interior, but it's a BMW interior. Let's just be honest. And BMW makes great interiors, but it's BMW. That's the problem. When you look at an interior like that, when you look at the motor, start looking at a lot of the design cues even on the outside of the car, you're starting to say, is this a BMW Supra or a Toyota Supra? That's a little bit of an issue. Is it going to sell? I think so. I think it should sell, but it's going to be interesting to see how it does. So anyway, we're going to jump back into me talking about the GT. Said I was going to talk about the GT500. This video got too long, so calling it a day on this. The GT500 is simple. I don't have much to talk about. It's a great car. I would buy it. It could use a manual transmission. The front end's a little bit crazy, but it still looks cool. I would consider buying that car if I could afford it right now, but it does need a manual transmission. And that's it. All right, guys. Again, I need subscribers, so if you like these videos, please, please, please subscribe and hit the like button, talk to me, comment, all that good stuff.